I'll be right. I can. And once you're talking, I can try to close it, or I could log on and control it for me.
Sure.
Oh, I don't have a computer.
That's all right. I started.
Well, welcome. As you can see, I'm not Jody Westrup. Jody couldn't be here this morning, so I'm the initial stand-in for Jody, and I just wanted to say that we should all give tremendous thanks for Jody for her year of presidency this last year of ASVNU. I'm sure she'd delight to be here, but I think she's on a cruise or doing something wonderful, and so talk about work-life balance. She's elected to put life balance over work balance. And anyway, so I'm just a very temporary stand-in, and I wanted to acknowledge and recognize Jody for her presidency, and so we'll give her a great vote of appreciation. We'd also certainly like to thank Hills for their ongoing and very active support of this organization. And Yola, thank you so much for your presence, and let's give Hills a big thank you for their. Thirdly, third of fourth, so I'm pretty soon will be gone, is wow, look how this group has grown. Tremendous. We used to have 2 or 3 tables and with scattered attendance at those tables, and now we have a great group of really prestigious people in this room. And so that's a tremendous sign of the interest and the development and I think the importance of urinary disease in the profession. And then finally, as a stand-in or a surrogate for Jody, oh, and I didn't see you there either, Drew, as a representative of Hills. Pardon me? No, you can never hide. You're too important. I would like to take this opportunity to transfer out the old and welcome in your new president, Dr. J.D. Foster, the new president of the ASVNU. J.D.
Thanks, Larry. Really appreciate that. And again, I'd like to second his comments on really thanking Jody for laying a lot of the groundwork down for the meeting and everything she's done for the past 2 years. She is unfortunately unable to be here today. She sends her regrets, kind of, but she's having a much better time sailing around the Dalmatian coast. And I would certainly like to second Larry's thanks to Hills for supporting this, for allowing us to actually eat some lunch today, and their generous support throughout the years. Really appreciate all of their support they've given the ASVNU. They've been a huge partner. So Yola, Drew, Debbie, all people that have been really fantastic. Drew, would you like to say a few words?
I'll keep it brief. I know this group has a lot of important information to talk about. So the first thing I want to say is for Shelley. So you notice we're not wearing the uniform. Maybe you are. So the uniform is a blue blazer. Yes, a lot of blue blazers. Now, we're thrilled to help sponsor this event. It's a very important area of interest. Certainly nutrition plays a big role, so which is another convenient thing, I guess, for Hills helping to sponsor this. But I wanted just to very quickly introduce our Hills team in the room in case you have questions later, want to know who they are. Dr. Yola Krippenstein, if you could raise your hand. He's a surgeon, but we let him in anyway, so thank you for being here. I see Dr. Becky Mullis, who is a veterinary clinical nutritionist that works at Hills, came from the University of Tennessee. Dr. Jen McClay, where are you? Did she have to leave? Jen had to go do an abstract on some urinary topics, so she works in our science and technology group. She's a great person to ask if you have questions in that area. And Dr. Mark Brady is one of our critical care specialists and Hills team members, so he's here. And did I miss anybody from Hills? Excellent, wonderful. Okay, again, proud to sponsor the meeting. Great topics today that I see on the agenda. Thank you so much for allowing us to sponsor and be here, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks again, Hills. It really would be hard to make this meeting possible without the generous support they've been giving us. So as this is kind of a transition year for us, I would also like to thank and recognize our outgoing board members that have now completed their term and will be stepping down maybe some more reluctantly than others. That includes Dr. Shelley Baden as our immediate past president. Thank you, Shelley. And both Larry and Hattie have completed their terms as members at large. So we really thank them for all of their service for the ASVNU. Okay, so moving on to the new people that are coming in. Firstly, the nominating committee, the group of people that met, evaluated our active membership. So that was the list of our members that actually had paid their dues this year, which is always a smaller portion of the larger crowd, to determine who would be good candidates to represent the ASVNU and who would we like to have on the board to continue. And so those three individuals that formed a nominating committee were Cedric DeFayette, Sarah Steinbach, and Ewan Wolf. Ewan can't be here today, but really appreciate the three of them for getting together and to create a great slate of candidates. So thank you guys for that time. I appreciate it. And so we have the results of our election. Hopefully everybody voted. It closed last Monday, so it's too late to do it now. We had both Drs. Carrie Palm and Gilad Segev that were our two candidates for president. And we had Drs. Larry Adams, Jessica Quimby, and Allison Brent as our candidates for members at large. And I'm very proud to announce that our upcoming president-elect will be Dr. Carrie Palm, and our upcoming members at large will be Dr. Larry Adams and Jessica Quimby. So thank you to those three, as well as the everybody who agreed to run and represent the ASVNU, and we're happy to have everyone continue to help and participate moving forward. So just to give you an idea of who is the board moving forward and who are the people that are kind of getting together, these are the people that are currently, as of 2019, really from this point moving forward, the ASVNU board. So in addition to myself, Kathy in the never-ending role of secretary/treasurer. There has never been anyone who's had the guts to try to take on that position and take it away from her. So yeah, that I'm pretty sure like the headstone will just say secretary/treasurer. Jody is now our immediate past president. Carrie is our president-elect, and our four members at large are Sherry Ross, who is with us via the internet, Mike Wood, Larry Adams, and Jessica Quimby. So these are the board members that will be representing the ASVNU for the next 2 years. So thanks to everybody who is participating and dedicating a lot of their time to help shape this organization. So I'm speaking a little bit quickly because we do have a lot of agenda to get through, and I want to have some opportunity for open discussion and on some relevant topics we'll be bringing up, as well as just an open forum for any other topics that are there. Firstly, hopefully everyone has checked out our website. Let me move that over here. So this is the website that we currently have at asvnu.org. Certainly thanks to Marcus Serno for getting that domain, for doing all the work on the previous website, for keeping the bare bones up and running so that we can continue to have a presence on the internet. So this is our website if you haven't seen it before. We've had a lot of content that's been added to it, and I think it's actually turned out to be a pretty great resource for pet owners and veterinarians. We get a lot of pet owners actually contacting us through this, looking to find where members are and things like that. So if you haven't gone through it, just real quickly, a little bit about who we are, why we have expertise in our field. So a little bit about the board, information about our meeting. So about this upcoming meeting, the nephrology urology track, which is tomorrow. And we had information about Renal Week, but since it's passed, Nav was nice enough to type up a summary of the highlights of Renal Week, so like what people missed if they weren't there, which is, I think, is really nice. We have this area which we'll come back to on ongoing research projects, so I'm just going to introduce this to get started. Being the webmaster I have one of my research projects as the only one listed because that's the only one that people have contacted me about. But hopefully, we're going to make that better. I really hope that everybody's facility is listed. I think this is a really cool feature of the website where we sent out a couple times a survey to all the members so that they could respond about the services that their hospital can provide. We give information about the contact information, the website, phone number, email address, so clients can reach out. And that is both within the entire United States, Canada, and internationally. So it is a great resource. If your hospital is not featured, just shoot me an email. I'll make sure you get the form to fill out, and we'd love to have your contact information that's there. Well, that's a great question. So right now, the member section is blank, and we actually have all the members that are typed out, but really, we thought one of the benefits of being an ASVNU member, not only being able to come to this great luncheon and the perks of, I'm sure we get rental car discounts and other things which we just aren't aware of, but I think it'd be most appropriate to really only list those members that are up to date with dues as a small perk of it. So we actually have the full list of members that can be published, but I didn't think it would be fair to not publish people's names without first letting everyone know that, hey, if you don't pay your dues, your name gets taken off of the website. So that will be the plan going forward. I think it's a question of whether we do that with hospitals. If they have one member that's there, I think that's totally fine. If they don't have any members of the ASVNU, do we advertise for them? Hopefully I can just guilt them into joining the ASVNU and then it's not a problem. But that will be the plan within the next, we'll probably give people a month just to pay their dues. If they haven't, the list of members will go up, including whatever your preference is for your contact information. Yeah. You guys can guess which list is the longer of the two. So we'll update this and we'll make sure that your preferences are there. Probably the most common question we get from clients through the feedback portals on the website is, I live in Kansas. Who is the closest member to Topeka that I can go and see? So it is really nice to be able to direct the public who are interested in getting expert kidney and urinary care to the experts in urinary and kidney care. So I think it's a pretty cool feature of it. One section which has been growing, and I hope it continues to grow, are resources. This is resources really mostly for veterinarians, so plugs for VREs, for the IRVPS, for the ESVNU, and we can continue to add content here however we see fit. So that's more for veterinarians. If I flip over for the pet owner resources page, I think this is really nice, and I've actually used it for some clients when I've been trying to explain to them what we're going to do. So a lot of this content was generated by Ewan, who again is not here today, but we tried to go through, and for a lot of the conditions that are particular to our specialty, we tried to provide some information, pictures, and video about, we have dialysis, hemoperfusion, we have cystoscopy, we have lithotripsy, collagen injection, VUH, sclerotherapy, subs, lots of stuff. So I think it's pretty great, and but I kind of made it with Ewan, so I'm pretty biased. Yeah, Rachel.
Do pet owners have the ability to see the vet resources?
Yes.
Okay, so
yeah.
you could get contact with, I'm just wondering if
In the same way that they could just Google and find the IRVPS website, yes. It's for the veterinary resource, it's just links to the organization's websites. So if there are areas that are absent, then and you feel like we should put them up, then please let's add them. Feel free to generate some content and just shoot me an email, and we can make this hopefully one of the best repositories of information that is kind of approved and what we would agree with, better than like PetMD or something like that. So I think we have a great resource to give some high level information to clients. So let's continue to expand that. And that's really it for the most part, except for this members only section. So you need to have the password, which I have not sent to anybody yet. So there'll be one password for the whole site. I believe right now it's time to get your NEF Ron to allow you to get to there. So there's absolutely nothing here, which is why no one has had the password. But I think this provides an opportunity for some internal content. We are recording this business meeting, so hopefully we'll have a video of this that we can post here, so anyone who was unable to attend the meeting can watch it. But we can also have the potential for discussion boards, for people to share research, either projects they're working on or some preliminary results, things that you might not want publicly available, but you are happy and eager to share with your colleagues. This could be a platform for it. So we're certainly open to trying to develop that, and we'll probably put a call out in the next couple of weeks about ideas and seeing what people might want to see in this area. Okay, I think that's probably all. I'm going to focus on the website. It's been around for a while, so hopefully people have had a chance to see it. Any questions or any general thoughts on the website so far? Thanks. Yeah. I have no skills whatsoever in creating a website. Luckily, so do most people have no skills. So the portals that allow you to do it, it makes life a lot easier. Okay. So on to the next topic would be an update on the nephrology urology specialty process. So Larry's going to present some information on this.
This is a perpetual presentation, it appears, but there's progress. First, let me say that for maybe some of you that haven't been in the process for the last couple of years, the original concept was that we would develop a subspecialty of nephrology urology under ACVIM internal medicine. And that was the direction that we were going up until last year. And then the ABVS, and that's the American Board of Veterinary Specialties, decided that they were going to eliminate the concept of subspecialties. And so just as we were moving forward, that rug sort of pulled out from under us, and we were directed to then become a specialty unto ourselves under the ACVIM umbrella, just like neurology and cardiology and internal medicine and the like. So I think we'd be, what, the sixth specialty under ACVIM? I forgot how many there are. So that was the first, and that came to light, I think, at the last meeting, that we would go ahead as a specialty, and that has a lot of advantages for us. I think it gives us a little bit more autonomy than we would have had as a subspecialty, where we would have been really constrained by internal medicine. Doing it under the ACVM umbrella gives us all the resources of ACVIM, both financially and resources like the forum, and I think it's going to be to our tremendous advantage to do that. And I'm proud to tell you that we have started the process. And so the first step in the process was to submit a letter of intent to the ABVS, and that was done last November. And our clock should have started ticking in last November, but there was a little glitch, and our letter didn't get in the hands of the board, the ABVS, at their November meeting, and so it got delayed until their March meeting, so March 2018, at which time our letter of intent was accepted. Joe Bargis, David Polzin, and Shelley Vaden and I met yesterday. And so with that said, the ABVS then, as part of their process, then assigns 2 liaisons to our process to guide us through the fairly rigorous process of becoming a certified specialty. And we've been assigned I've forgotten his first name. Chris, yeah, Bill Fenner. And Bill's been in step with us for years, for the last 4 or 5 years. He's really been one of the liaisons that we've had in the past, and it was very useful, I think, and I'm pleased that he was assigned as one of our liaisons going forward. And particularly because he may retire off of the ABVS in the next few years, and so it's nice to be able to capture him and all of his experience and expertise as we here he is, Chris Byers, as we go forward. So I just thought maybe the last thing I would do is just give you a little bit of overview of the process from now. Our clock actually is going to start in March of 2019, and so that's kind of a favorable thing for us because it gives us a little, because of this glitch in the letter getting on the agenda for the November meeting last year. Now it gives us a little bit of extra time. So we have to. We've started the process. The next thing that happens, we have to submit a call for public comment, and that goes to the ABVS, and they forward it on to AVMA, one of those boards, and then AVMA puts out a call to the public and to everybody that they can identify that might have an interest in commenting on this to provide feedback. And the processes through ABVS have changed, and that public comment used to come after you submitted your petition to be recognized, provisionally recognized as a specialty. ABVS has changed the processes now, and so where that used to take about a year, that period of public comment is now 90 days, and then that comment is provided to us as resource information to direct our petition to become a provisional specialty. So the plan is that we would submit our petition, and the timeline would be, it'd be most advantageous for us that by next March, we ought to have all of our ducks in a row and submit our petition to become a provisional specialty at March. And it'll probably take a few months after that submission, because there'll be, the petition is a very complex, very detailed document that has to go forward that includes a lot of factors, including a revision of our bylaws, our training proposals, our examination proposals, a job analysis to indicate the need and the value of having this specialty within the profession. We have to develop a bibliography of relevant literature in our discipline. So there's a lot of detail that goes into this petition, and then it's reviewed by the ABVS, and anything they don't like, then we have to fix. Once that petition is approved, then we become a provisional specialty, and we can start conducting business as a specialty. We've got 4 years from that point to become certified, plus or minus a year or so if we needed an extension. So there is a clock that ticks, and if you're not valid in that period of time and you can't show that you're doing a meaningful job, then you don't gain certification. So we have, in the original letter of intent, we had an organizing committee that they wanted about 10 to 12 names. I think we submitted 14 or 15 names of individuals that were willing. We solicited these individuals, and at that time, everybody agreed to participate. We'll go back and revisit all of the documentation that we've done in the past, make sure that it's still all current as we start to prepare to create and submit our petition by March of 2019. Okay. Any questions that I can answer on? Oh, the other information. So Bill Finner was very, very gracious and very informative with us yesterday, and we're going to do this process with a lot of interaction with the ACVIM Board of Regents to make sure that they understand and recognize and are in sync with our process as we go forward, so that we don't surprise anybody. We'll certainly try to inform ACVIM Internal Medicine about this before our letter of intent our call for public comment is presented, so that the internal medicine doesn't see it from some random source. And the other comment that I would make, and maybe Joe and David and Shelley can provide additional suggestions, but it looks like we have a lot of support all the way up the line. I think we met last year at the forum with the Board of Regents. They were very supportive. Think our process and our concepts for how we want to do training and how we want to do testing and how we want to do a lot of the sort of novel things that we proposed for our specialty that are a little bit maybe rogue or different than what the other specialties have done. There was big support for that, and they're looking at us to provide a template for potentially other specialties like endocrinology or gastroenterology going forward. So we're under a microscope in terms of a couple of situations. The ABVS has now just changed the rules, so we're under a new operating mandates than any previous specialty that's gone forward, and so we're the guinea pig in that regard. ACVIM is looking at us because they really want us to succeed, so they can use our model as a template for other specialties. And so we're getting a lot of very favorable comments of people that just absolutely want to see us succeed. So I think the next step then is we will immediately start to activate the organizing committee to get these details accomplished that need to be accomplished in order to submit our petition by March. Joe, David, Shelley, do you have any other thoughts or comments? So we're going forward at long last. Yeah.
For running for office for a additional at-large member of the board from a private practice. And it would be a nice thing if one of the newest members on that specialty practice board of regents, at-large member would be a member of our society to kind of help facilitate.
Very clever idea, Dr. Lobato. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Okay, next, I should probably do what I meant to start the meeting with, and I totally forgot, but better late than never. Why don't we just go around the room real quick? We've done it every year just to make sure, because we have some new faces, that we introduce ourselves and say who we are, where we're from, just so as we're calling out people. I really love that we're a very close-knit group. We don't have really that many warring factions between us. There might be some mild disagreements, but we can still mostly sit at the same table. So if we go around and just say hello, who we are, where we're from, I think that'd be nice. I'll start. I'm JD, obviously. Super psyched to be here, as always. And I'm at the Friendship Hospital for Animals in Washington, D.C. John, you want to start?
Everybody has to talk very loudly.
John. Joe Vargas, University of Georgia.
Yeah,
Jody Lulich, University of Minnesota.
Gideon Daniel,
David Bolton, University of Minnesota.
Sarah Lorbach, Shelley Baden,
Julie Byron, Ohio State University, and I would like to throw in the bug that I'm actually taking over for Jessica for me as the program.
Yes.
Year.
I
So
That was not a slight. I'm sorry I forgot that.
no. I'm doing it because I'm basically like expecting and I solicit ideas, please. For what's in it. We have 4 hours.
Thanks, Jody.
Carter, University of Surrey. University of Florida.
I guess we'll do the back and we'll do the center left. Let me get back to that.
Jennifer McClay from Hills.
Yeah.
Kathy Langston, the Ohio State University. Marie Pearl, I'm with BCA. Bruce Forster from Hills. Sarah Jacobson,
Just. Right. Yeah. Changing directions, Larry.
Larry Adams for the University.
Sarah Steinbeck from UC. Nicole from Las Vegas.
Larry Cosgrove, UC Davis.
Sandra Clare, University of Pennsylvania.
Navid Hadawi, Berg in Brooklyn.
Hi, Rachel Cianciolo, I'm a pathologist.
You don't have a home?
But I think it's funny that you ended with the pathologist.
Of course. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. I think it's great. The group is really fun, and I think it's great to be able to be such a close-knit membership that gets along so well. Okay, so I wanted to update everybody on concepts that were introduced last year. The IRIS has sanctioned the development of extracorporeal renal replacement consensus guidelines. Really quickly, why do we need that? Well, in people, all these things have been studied. In veterinary medicine, they have been observed but not really reported. The dose of dialysis, when we should start, how frequently it should be done, how patients should be monitored. And in fact, in people, you have two big organizations, KDOQI and KDIGO, that provide consensus recommendations and clinical practice guidelines on a huge number of topics that help guide nephrologists, and most of these are renal rather than urinary. And there are certainly a number that are applicable for our patients. And unfortunately, in veterinary medicine, we have very limited data that's published on dialysis. There is quite a variability in the training that people will receive prior to starting a dialysis service, ranging from in-person fellowships to buying a machine on eBay and learning how to turn it on. And I think that ends up resulting in very different outcomes that we see in clinical practice. And because the interest and the availability is growing, there is absolutely a need for us to standardize what we think is best clinical practice. And so the goal of this project would really be to summarize the available data that we have, identify areas that are in need of research and further clarification, and when we are lacking evidence-based guidelines, which will be most of the time, really trying to provide expert opinions on what we should be doing. And this model, I think, works quite well. We can see, and we all are familiar or have participated in the WSAVA proteinuria project, and I think that this could likely have the same impact within this field. So just the timeline of this this project in 2015, that's kind of where the ideas were first developed and kind of started to develop the spectrum of what we would tackle. Last year, it was proposed and accepted by IRIS. In late 2017 into 2018, the consensus topics were finalized and really tried to identify the broad scope of the project. And then moving into 2018, we've identified the key study group chairs that we want to hopefully be organizing each working group. So the co-chairs are Larry, David, and myself. And then the working group chairs that we have so graciously agreed to volunteer their time are Claudio, Terry, Kathy, Carrie, Sherry, and Gilad. So each one of them will be heading up a study group, which would be within basically a very broad topic. So Gilad and Terry are both doing intermittent dialysis. Kathy's doing CRRT. Claudio and Larry are doing apheresis and plasma exchange. Carrie's doing hemoabsorption, hemoperfusion. Sherry is doing vascular access, and I'm doing biosurveillance of equipment. Yep. So amongst these topics, within that, we'll be discussing the indications, timing, prescription, a lot of details. Now, these are the study group chairs, but obviously we need members of the study group. And I can report that I have selected my biosurveillance study group. I think some of the other working group chairs are still in the process of selecting some members, so still keep an eye out on your email, because we're certainly looking for members of our institution to be able to form these working groups that are going to do a pretty large amount of work. And so the idea is, what we're trying to do is really get the working group members finalized within the next couple weeks. Begin reviewing the human literature. I should also comment that we have 3 human nephrologists that have agreed to participate in this project as well too. So we have both their expertise as well as their experience with being in consensus guidelines and things like that. So I think that is really exciting to have some MDs on this project, and I think really elevates the level. And basically the timeline is, after we start to review the human literature and identify those areas that we need to investigate, the working groups will evaluate the literature, evaluate the evidence, come forth with their recommendations. That will be presented to the entire working group initially for some tweaking, and then it will be presented basically in the second draft form to the ASVNU, and we hope to the ASVNU as well for review and commentary. And then going back, coming up with the third draft before it's finally presented to the ASVNU and ESVNU for acceptance and ratification, and then on to IRIS, and then finally for publishing the results. And we hope that at the end, what we're having are the IRIS extracorporeal best practice clinical guidelines, but also having it be sanctioned by the ASVNU and ESVNU, and having that fairly well prominently displayed. So I think that's important for branding of our group, for trying to get additional recognition. That's probably more important now than it ever has been, as we're going forward with the process of developing the specialty, is really highlighting the amazing work that this organization does. And I think anything that can be reflecting the group at large really is quite fantastic, and will only do us some favors. I'm going to skip just a little bit and get onto some research ideas, just because Mike has to go to an abstract, and I want to make sure that he gets a chance to chat. So as I mentioned earlier, we have this members only area, the website, and I think that is a great place where we could discuss and plan and try to develop some research ideas. I think the ASVNU is a great opportunity and a great resource for collaborators. And so far, you guys probably remember my email about the BEAST study, the benazepril versus enalapril versus telmisartan study in the management of canine proteinuria. And through the ASVNU, we've had 25 hospitals sign on to be a study site, which is pretty amazing. If 1/4 of them actually enroll cases, it's going to be great. So that's a really fantastic resource. Right now, the project it's currently undergoing IACOC review, so we hope to be able to start enrolling cases by the end of the summer. So if you haven't heard anything from me, it's just because we're still going through the IACOC review. But you know, at the end of this, and we do this amazing study, and we have groundbreaking results. You know, saying that we're able to do this through the ASVNU is really fantastic, and I think for those people outside of our organization, shows that we actually do have some organizational skills, and we get things done, and we have a large body that's willing to work together. Looking backwards, we've seen the proteinuria consensus project, we've seen the renal pathology group get together as well too. So what we really like to see are some lower urinary tract projects that could be developed, potentially under the auspice of the ASVNU with some of the members coming together. And we certainly want to have that pretty well featured. So Mike, do you want to come up and share some things?
So this is actually two slides, two different topics. The first topic that I wanted to discuss was the idea of mobilizing the interest group, people that have interest in the lower urinary tract, into developing into working groups to try to mobilize those individuals. And so this first thing here is the idea of coming together to develop these working groups. The goal is to develop guidelines and scoring systems for diseases within the lower urinary tract. So in terms of the guidelines, it could be associated with something such as incontinence or urinary tract infections, and then scoring systems could be related to things like that as well. The idea isn't necessarily to develop a curriculum for the specialty. However, the goal is that if we are able to mobilize our resources, get everybody working together, we'll already have a backbone that's present there for urology as we move to developing a specialty in nephrology and urology. So just like JD was saying with the renal replacement therapy, the idea would be to choose individual topics, subcategorize them into smaller groups, and then distribute them into working groups. Again, this is going to be independent of the specialty organization, but the hope is that this will then build towards something that we can apply to the specialty. The first step is going to be to draft specific topics and subtopics that people have interest in with regard to the lower urinary tract. So in the next 3 months, we're going to be coming, so I've been talking with Joe and JD and Shelly to come up with certain topics, and then I'm going to be also calling for a call from the group in general about specific topics that they feel are important in the lower urinary tract. From there, we'll choose an initial topic that will be covered in this first time period, and then from there we'll essentially subcategorize that, assign topics to come up with our initial guidelines. This could be something on some things we had talked about was the idea with urinary tract infections, and they're coming out with the new antimicrobial guidelines, but that's not from our organization. So would it be something as simple as, not simple, but as going through and saying, okay, a sort of a response to those guidelines versus coming up with a set of guidelines in and of ourselves. So that was the proposal that that we've been discussing, and wanted to bring that to the group's attention. Obviously, welcome any feedback with regard to that as well. Yeah.
Mike, one thing that I maybe would task your group to do. One of the things that we have to do for the specialty is to generate a job task analysis, and that would be an incredible structure in which to do that. In other words, to identify why we need to have these specialists available to do tasks that an internist can't do and a generalist can't do. And we'll have to do it for the whole discipline, but it would be nice if whatever organization results from this would take that on perhaps as an early agenda, either casually or more formally.
Okay.
That would help the whole petition process.
Cool. Yeah, awesome.
Another thing I would say is that with the 3 or 4, maybe almost 5 years ago, the whole consensus statement for neuropsychiatrists was members of this room, but it was through the ACVIM, not through the ASVNU. But I do think that the Stone consensus statement is certainly something that, for me, comes up all the time, and with controversy, particularly with surgeons.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that is a very important topic for this group to have full consensus on and to stand on, particularly for making our own specialty. And we wrote a consensus statement for it, a lot of which was opinion. And then that leads to, certainly, this is incredibly selfish because this is 90% of my life, but there's a middle urinary tract that we don't talk about. And I think it's incredibly important. But I do think consensus is necessary for that because that's a huge area of controversy that we're all working through, and I think we could have much better consensus on it. And I would love for this group to be able to have a stand on that and at least bring forward all controversy and be able to have somewhat of an opinion on the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go along with this, obviously, different people are going to have different opinions on this, and so it's. I think Joe was the person that had mentioned it's a matter of us discussing it and maybe agreeing to disagree versus necessarily coming to a this is what you have to do, or not have to, but what we recommend that you do.
Well, I think there
So.
should be some consensus on management of patients, preoperative, postoperative, and intraoperative, and what stones should be dissolved, and it is like malpractice to remove them surgically. There's so many things I think this group can have a very strong stand on, and it came out and basic idea, but I think it's better.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Yeah, and that's the reason why we're moving forward with this. Yeah. Any other questions or comments? Okay. So to go along with that, and I know it's a little bit out of order, but I have a poster I need to stand next to. So the second thing goes back to JD's when he was talking about the member section of the website, and then also developing sort of research interests within the group. Back in February, we sent out a Google link to the members to essentially fill out the form. I have the if I click this, will it go to the?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. So you should have gotten an email back in February that was essentially this Google document. It was something that Dr. Wolf and I had developed back in October. Did anybody fill it out? Yeah, nobody filled it out. So we figured that there had to have been a reason why people they must not have understood why we were sending this out or what the purpose behind it is. It's the idea behind this was that within that member section of the website, it would be nice to have people with similar interests or people doing research in similar areas to essentially have a place to go and discuss to discuss what they're doing, to find collaborators, etc. This forum was not just for PIs. It was for anybody that was interested in participating in research projects. So whether or not you want to be a PI, or whether or not you just wanted to be a collaborator, somebody that would help with a clinical study or something like that. The idea was to fill out this form and basically say what your interests were. And then by doing that, we would be able to put people together into certain groups, so that way people would be like, oh, well, I'm interested in doing a study on nephrolithiasis, and then they'd be like, oh, well, these people have a similar interest in that, and so you can go to that group and ask if you wanted to have a collaborator, or if you wanted to help somebody collect samples with you, or etc. So if you go through the form, it basically asks you retrospective, are you interested in prospective studies, retrospective studies, clinical studies, basic science studies, etc., what your interests are, and the idea was to kind of get everybody together. So the first question is, does anybody remember getting this email? No. Okay. So we will resend this email. And then the second question is, if people did remember seeing it, why didn't they fill it out? Yeah. So it's the idea is sort of to categorize individuals into, like, you can have multiple different areas that you're interested in, and then you would but it would be to essentially say then you would be in essentially multiple different groups of interest. Yeah.
And I think this content would be separate than advertisement for an active study.
Yes.
So this would be more within our group to identify people that you want to work with. So you would just do one of those forms, and if you have 30 studies, then email me the 30 studies, and I can post those on the public site. So if people want to figure out where they could go to get blank, they could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think you should have a separate site for those researchers who want samples or something.
Okay.
I would second that there may be scenarios where in the teaching practice we provide samples, but we're not really in the situation of asking.
Yeah, and on this form, there is a box where it says, I'm interested in participating in providing samples, but not actually performing the projects. So in that, we could capture it and then split those people out. Any other comments? So we'll send this out again, and definitely, if you have any questions or concerns or anything like that, definitely feel free to email me. Be happy to discuss it. Email me or JD. Be happy to discuss this. Again, the idea is to try to consolidate people. All right. Awesome. Okay, I got it.
Thanks, Mike. Yep. All right. So sorry for jumping around just a little bit, but all right. So we were talking about the update of the consensus guidelines, and then following up last year, I also introduced to the group, but when we were having our board meetings over the last 6 months, we realized we probably should actually have this be more formally proposed and accepted. So I just want to reintroduce this concept of, as we are developing and as the extracorporeal guidelines will be accepted and written, that also provides an opportunity to certify facilities, potentially even individuals who have the training, so that the public can recognize where a hospital is that they can feel confident that their pet can get a high level of care. I've already went through that. I've already shown that here you can get 3 Phoenix machines for the low price of $1,500. So this situation allows anybody to be able to start doing veterinary dialysis, and that is not necessarily the best situation for our patients. So we'd like to recognize those hospitals that can really do it well, who know what they're doing, who can give the best outcomes for patients. So certification has been done from several other groups, and I think it is a good model that we can follow. And I think pet owners will recognize this along with other types of certification. So I think most people are familiar with the AHA certification. So in a study, and of course this was done by AHA itself, so take from it what you want. The amount of pet owners saying that they look for an AHA accredited hospital doubled from 16% to 30% from 2013 to 2016. The majority of pet owners in this survey actually are looking and seeking and prefer to go to a hospital that is AHA accredited. The majority of pet owners were willing to spend more for their pet's care if it was being done at an AHA accredited facility as well too, and they would be more likely to travel to go to a place that was AHA certified. So it takes a lot of work for any practice, any institution, any veterinary school to become AHA certified, and it does seem like owners are recognizing that. AHA does their own branding to demonstrate how important it is and what the expertise of their veterinarians may have. So I think that that's a model that certainly shows that the public responds to it. But amongst the specialty world, the Critical Care Society has developed certification for the level of care that can be provided regarding trauma and emergency levels. And they provided 3 different tiers, level 3 to level 1. Level 1 is actually the highest tier of certification, which can provide the most advanced, the highest tech, the best critical care for a pet. And there's an entire process that facilities have to go to, an application to apply. And at the end, they can receive certification that they're level 1, level 2, or level 3 facility. And hospitals display this. So, this is the front door of Friendship. Right next to our AHA certification, we're VEX level 1 certified. We take Visa, Discover, and American Express too. But that's right there on the front. So we can do all of these amazing things. You will have to pay for it, but we can do them all. So this is something that hospitals are really proud of, and they should be. And we can absolutely create this for our specialty. And I think since the guidelines for dialysis and extracorporeal treatments are being developed, it certainly makes sense to maybe start with that. So I proposed last year, because it was the day after Iris agreed to this, that maybe we should do it. And I'd like to more kind of formally propose that this be a task of the ASVNU to take on to develop a certification process. And I'd like to just talk a little bit, and then we can probably through email and polls and stuff like that figure out exactly what we'd like to do. But I think ideally we would generate a committee of people who would be willing to serve as a certification committee that would generate the application, the requirements, whether it's you're certified or not, or we do levels of certification. What does it take to be recertified? So we would be certainly looking for people that would be interested in doing this so that we can create our own extracorporeal certification. So, hospitals can get something looking like this that they can throw on the front door of their hospital that they are accredited in extracorporeal renal replacement therapies. And maybe that actually spills over onto the website where we actually highlight them differently or something like that. People have proposed the question, can an individual become certified? If you're the only person doing extracorporeal treatment and it's you that's responsible for your hospital certification, should we be certifying individuals? And I guess I don't know the answer to that, and I would let the group and maybe the committee kind of feel that more. But personally, I probably see that being more people becoming specialized within the specialty of nephrology and urology, and highlight the hospitals still that can provide such care. But I think that's an important question that we should think about. So, although I think that this idea sounds great and it would be really cool to do, I don't want to speak on behalf of the group. So I wanted to open it up for some discussion, some ideas, and then I'd draft a summary, send it out to everybody, and then actually do a poll of the members to vote to see, is this an agenda that the ASVNU should take on? And then if the answer would be yes, then we'd move forward with developing the accreditation committee and actually developing this process forward. So the idea hopefully would be the ESVNU would mirror this and do the same. Since IRIS is international, we're trying to make these guidelines international for the clinical practice. The certification, we would hope that ASVNU would be the body that can provide review and accreditation of facilities here, and the ESVNU would do that across the pond. So any thoughts, any comments on that? Yeah.
Involved in on the next board for a number of years as the next facility certification moving forward. It was about an 8-year or so process to get to that point where they launched actually letting facilities enroll. I'm happy to help with that. Obviously, there's lots of discussions that happen, and the process was designed around facilities kind of the same way that you point out that certifying an individual is a different kind of a thing. And this is saying that the facility has identified these kinds of virtues and characterizations, which is a little bit different. It also took some time to come up with a mechanism where facility, how are you going to evaluate a facility without having somebody go to their Oklahoma certification, somebody go to inspect? So I'm happy to help with that process. And this will be, but it takes a lot of time and kind of thought.
Yeah, I think that is a great resource to be able to fall back on. I actually emailed the Critical Care Society trying to get in touch with the people that were part of that process to strike up that conversation. The email still hasn't been responded to yet, so soon I'm sure they'll get back to me. But yeah, that's a great resource. Yeah, that's terrific. Sure. Yeah, Julie.
I know it delays things a little bit. It seems most logical that the development of best practice guidelines for the assessment of whether or not a practice adhere to a certain standard because it's based on the guidelines.
Right.
I do understand there is probably a little bit more need to be sure that people are actually taking their pets to a place where they can have expectations that are more so I just am thinking that there probably needs to be even like some the topics that you're starting with, some fairly quick, immediate things that come out of the consensus statement, guidelines, and really just apply those to start with provisional approval, and then once the consensus comes out, I would assume there will be realignment with all of the different practices.
Yeah, I think that's a terrific point. And that was certainly the concept, but the idea was also that the process of getting the accreditation organized was not going to be fast. So that if it got started around the same time that the guidelines were being created, there would hopefully be the backbone of who's actually participating in that process. What do the members think to be able to go along with those guidelines as they're developed? Do you have a comment, Larry?
Well, a couple of comments. One, the original thought was that it's likely that the guidelines group is going to be, or the certification group is going to be very heavily populated by the same group that's doing the guidelines. And our sort of vision was that we would try to get the group doing the guidelines, and at the same time you're thinking about that and the certification criteria, and maybe do those, get some of that concept out simultaneously since those groups were engaged
and wouldn't have to be re-engaged. And then if it comes back to the ASVNU for refinement, at least there's a template and a framework and some initial work. The other point that I wanted to bring up when you had your slide up there, Judy, this provides good, not only do I think it's an important and useful service for the profession, but it's good branding for our society too. I mean, that it gives this society something that they can do, and it would have to be perpetual. So it would be a big commitment that the society would take on, because once you started, I think you'd be obligated to carry on with it. But I think it would be good for our name recognition. It would be good for promoting our discipline and our specialists. So it's something worthy of consideration.
Any other thoughts or comments? So I think what I'll do is I'll try to type up a summary of the scope of the project, email it out to everybody so that everyone who isn't here can also be introduced to it, and then we'll come up with a ballot to see if the membership agrees that this is a task that we should take on moving forward. Does that seem like a fair approach for most people?
You want to do a straw poll just to see if there's interest in this?
Yeah, sure. So is this something we should pursue? Raise your hand. And that's unanimous for sure. Okay, cool. Okay, so we'll move forward with that. Okay, and then just the last few slides. Wanted to bring up where we are financially. So we have about $27,000 in the bank, and if you remember, it was back when Shelley was president, actually, that we had a vote and discussion on what we should do with the finances. There was a finance committee. I believe the last time they met was 2012. So the question is, it's been a long time. There have been things that have developed. The whole specialty college, there will probably be some costs that will be incurred with the process of going forward, whether it's travel cost or who knows what. At this point, there is nobody who's stepped up to be the benefactor for that. 2, 3, the 4 of you guys? No, Joe says hard no. So we're still looking for money to potentially support that process. So the ASVNU might make sense to be someone who can help support some of those costs. I don't even know of any of those costs, but just giving out hypotheticals. If we can move forward with the accreditation process, maybe there could be costs with that as well too, regarding database generation, maintenance, stuff like that. So the question is, are we happy? Yeah, there absolutely could be revenues too. Are we happy with the results of the ballot initiative that went out several years ago? I could not find it in my email, nor could I remember what those results were to share with you, but are we happy with them? Or would we like to maybe regroup, reconvene a finances committee and maybe do another poll to the members at this point to determine how we should use our funds? Last time we discussed maybe some small grants for trainees to be able to go to meetings, very small grants to pay for some small research projects, maybe to cover some publication fees. I think there's a lot of opportunities. Jody was really interested in trying to develop like an Osborne Award or an Osborne Scholarship, which I think would be fantastic. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. I guess straw poll number 2, who might be in favor to reconvening the finance committee and determining how the money should be used at this point going forward? Okay, great. So that will be the second thing that we will do as well too. And then second and last slide, Larry, you want to talk about the next up and coming Hemodialysis Academy?
Thank you. So we'll be starting another. We've had 2 hemodialysis academies now, and I'm speaking from part of the faculty of the Hemodialysis Academy, and I think they've been hugely successful. And anybody who would second that motion, raise your hand, even though I'm in the room. But we're going to do a 3rd academy as long as there's interest, and we have a lot of requests almost on a daily basis asking us when the next one's going to be. So we've elected to go ahead and create a 2018-19 academy. and it will start on September 18th. The website will be up hopefully next week with both the website and the registration module in it. So pass the word around. We'll get some flyers generated soon, and maybe we'll send those out as a PDF so that you can distribute them around your institutions, around people that would have an interest in joining the academy. Anybody from the academy have any other points?
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question about that? Are you planning to offer like reduced registration for technicians, for example, similar to residents?
We haven't. We're going to have a meeting next week to talk about some of the details. Right now, there are two levels of registration fees. There's a fee for trainees that's about half the cost of a normal registration, and a registration for doctors who aren't in the training mode. There's a third level of registration. So trainees of faculty members of the academy then aren't charged for their training as long as they're bona fide trainees that are participating in the extracorporeal programs of that faculty member. We'll discuss the issue of technicians.
Okay. Second to last thing, just open forum. Does anybody have any other topics that they'd like to bring up and to discuss before the meeting comes to a close? Yeah, Rachel.
So I think the COHA, Translational Applied Health, One Health Initiative, something like that. They're going to try to put together a forum for summit with MDs and veterinarians, and so there's a collaborative thing for oncology research. So they have MDs and vets together. So kidney is going to be one of the focuses that they're going to write into the grant proposal. I think it's been funded, and now it's going to be about distributing the money. And so I just got an email, I think, a couple of days ago about having a renal focus for one of these big, huge summits. And so we have OSU Med School and Vet School interest. So I guess if we're thinking about having another additional pure focus kidney meeting, and so I guess we'll probably advertise for you guys to send out information if people want to join. I think they've sent emails. I think Shelly was on the email list and everything like that. So Dr. Trepanier is kind of the lead for the co-author. Oh, we wrote a book. Yeah, so that also, I think we're going to add the link to the ASVNU website, and so the pathologists, the same team, or many of the same team that did the original publication for glomerular disease in dogs, was tasked with trying to create an atlas, which we did, and we are very proud because it is open access, so anybody can read it and click on it as many times as you want, and it all accounts to our digital impact for promotion. And then, so it's open access, tons of histology, lots of EMs, and we made the EMs really pretty. You guys can come to my talk tomorrow to see some of them. Immunofluorescence, it's going to be great. It's kind of directed more towards pathology trainees, but the clinical side, and there's tons of clinical data for any of the patients that we show pictures from. And some of them are probably cases that came through the Wasawa study or cases that we've collected at the IVRPS. So if you guys get a diagnosis for me in membranous and you're like, hey, I wonder what that looks like, you can always go to the atlas and look at pictures.
It's beautiful. Very nice.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's all online, so it's an ebook. It's open access ebook.
Yeah. We'll put a link up on the website next week.
And we will hopefully, one of our future goals, I think, is to expand that to feline biopsy tissue. So this one's only for inert dogs, but we want to make it a much broader atlas, and we can kind of do various iterations. And so maybe we could eventually cover more than one.
Great. Any other comments, thoughts? Okay, well then we can close the meeting, but before we leave, we have to get a picture of everybody. So I will go out into the hall and find someone who can take the picture if we all want to start to congregate in a line up here. That'd be great.